Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is from Simpson and Vale. It's a it's herbal tea, herbal flower tisane, maybe. Cedarburg Harvest Green Rooibos, I believe it's called. And it's got many ingredients, lots of different flowers and fruits and whatnot. And it's really nice. And I just thought it would be kind of nice to have in this nice mug. And this mug says, I believe, let's see, when a man is tired of London, he is tired of life. It's a quote from Samuel Johnson, who was a writer, very well known around about Jane Austen's time, which means I probably should have used this for Jane Austen July, but that's okay. I'm using this because my sister gave this to me when I visited her in Chicago. She saw it in the shop and thought, well, it definitely has my name all over it. So I thought, might as well use it today for my Chicago book haul. And I haven't done a book haul in quite some time, which doesn't mean I haven't acquired any books since last time. Don't know if my last haul was actually my last Chicago book haul. There may have been one since then. I don't know. I've cut down a little bit because even though I do pick up books at bookshops here and there, order a book once in a while, definitely still take library books out. I just feel, well, I had to cut down. I had to cut down personally. I don't need as many books anymore. And I hate doing this because, when you do something for a long time and then you stop and you get preachy about it, that's not always a great look. But I don't want to over encourage hauls. I still enjoy watching them. I sometimes enjoy making them, but I don't want to overdo it because I want to encourage reading more than acquiring, if possible. But on that note, I'm still going to show you my haul from Chicago. I went to a number of bookshops, mostly used bookshops when I visited my sister, which is what we mainly do because, well, it's the more reasonable thing to do, and because we do have some finds that are quite good. My sister went to a place called, I believe it was Armadillo's. Was it Armadillo's Pillow or something like that? I don't think I found anything particularly there. It was a good shop though. And she found a Persephone book, which isn't always easy to find in the United States. Not impossible, but a challenge. So that was a good start. And so I know that my tastes tend to run toward things you could find in used bookstores, but can't always find them. And some of my local ones I don't get to as much anymore either. Some of them have been very disappointing lately. Book Off, for instance. Why are they raising their prices so much? Why? I tell you, why? But we're not talking about New York today. So the only problem is it's been a few weeks since these purchases, and I forgot some of the places. Like, okay, I think I bought this book at this place. Some of them I'm not completely certain, so some of this may be guesswork, but I'm going to keep it as close as possible to what I remember, because I don't want to give the wrong credit to the wrong shop, but I still think they're all pretty good places to visit. So I will start with the one that I don't remember where I got from, period. And I wish I did, and I have ideas, but I don't want to guess this one. So this is a nonfiction, a biography about someone who I've read about in other books about other people, mainly when I was reading about Eleanor of Aquitaine, because she is one of the people I like to read about in her time period. She was an interesting woman, and her era was interesting. It was, during the Crusades. Henry II was her second husband, and he was I wouldn't say a great guy, but a very dynamic king and interesting. And the children they had together, two of which became well-known kings for good and bad reasons. Anyway, so I read a lot about her in that time period. In doing that, I've come across this name of William Marshall. He was a knight, and he was around for 5 monarchs, starting with Stephen, going on to Henry II, and 2 of his sons, and then John's son, Henry III, who he was only briefly, because then he died. But he lived into, I think, his 70s, which in those days was pretty good. So just living to that age at that time period, although Eleanor did as well. I think she lived around 80-ish. I don't know. But so this is called The Greatest Knight, The Remarkable Life of William Marshall, the Power Behind 5 English Thrones. Thomas Asbridge, author of the Crusades. So that's it. This is what I found. And well, that might be good. This is himself. he is. He looks very happy that he wrote a book about William Marshall. Let's see. He is. He wrote 2 television series. Oh, I guess that's the Crusades for BBC Two. That's nice. So I hope it's good. I don't really know about him very well, but I'm sure it will be enjoyable when I get around to reading it. I'm going to show you a book that I didn't buy while I'm looking at it. My sister also got this for me. I think she might have got it around the same time she got me the mug. So she just found it in very great shape and at a very reasonable price. And she knows C.J. Sansom is one of my favorite authors. He wrote mystery novels about in Tudor era mystery novels. Matthew Shardlake, I think is his main protagonist. Who there's a recent TV show or whatever you want to call it about him. I haven't watched it yet. I can't believe I haven't watched it yet. Right before the show came out, C.J. Sansom died, and I knew he had been sick for quite some time. But it's always sad. Selfishly, because there was a book that was rumored to be coming out that was never finished, and I would have liked to have read it because the last book that came out was like 2017, I think. But anyway, I'm starting to read over the series again, and I'm back to Dissolution. This is like the 3rd or 4th book in the series, Sovereign. I think this one takes place during when they go up to the north, I believe. The king and his wife, Catherine Howard. I believe so. I could be wrong about that, but doesn't matter because they're all good books, and I just love the way this book looks. Which sounds like a weird thing, but it does help. So, thank you, Bonnie. We went to Ravenswood Books, which I found a number of good Victorian novels there. This time I found some, but didn't really like it enough to get it, so I did not. Give me a moment. Sorry for the fast. It's actually iced, so I tend to drink that a little bit faster, which is probably not smart, but I turned off the air conditioner, it's a hot day out, etc. Moving back, the weather was it rained one day in Chicago when I was there, but otherwise the temperature was just so mild and so perfect. If the entire summer, I'm sorry I'm ranting with the weather, I do that, I don't care. If the entire summer could be like that, it's spring weather, but it could be summer weather and it could be early autumn weather, I would be so happy, but I can't control it. So but if I somehow found out a way to control weather, that would be the weather that I would pick, probably. Anyway, going back to Ravenswood, so I was looking in the fiction area and I thought that, I found some things I thought maybe, but nothing was really pulling me, and I am a lot more selective than I used to be. Occasionally I will do I'll just get this anyway if the price is really good, but I'm trying not to be as impulsive in my purchasing as I used to be, because I don't have a lot of space left for my books, and I want to buy books that I will read. I want to check out books from the library that I'll read as well, but occasionally if one disappoints me, taking it back to the library, not as big a deal. So again, I was selective. But not on the way out, but I just wandered to different sections, and there was a murder mystery section or mystery section, and I was looking quickly and I saw a British Library crime classic that I have not read and do not have, and this is The Hogs Back Mystery by Freeman Wills Crofts. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Look at that. It's not even a Poison Pen press, which I try not to buy too many of, even though they're the same books, it's just a different size, so they don't go with the rest of my books. So let's see. I'll read you the description. Sorry, my glasses. I need new glasses desperately, so I'm going to do this thing. Sorry. Dr. James Earl and his wife live in comfortable seclusion near the Hogs Back, a ridge in the North Downs in the beautiful Surrey countryside. I've been to Surrey, just the border between London and Surrey. When Dr. Earl disappears from his cottage, Inspector French is called in to investigate. At first, he suspects a simple domestic intrigue and begins to uncover a web of romantic entanglements beneath the couple's peaceful rural life. Because, you can't live in a cute cottage and not have a Midsummer murders story, right? The case soon takes a more complex turn. Other people vanish mysteriously, one of Dr. Earl's house guests among them. What is the explanation for the disappearance? If the missing people have been murdered, what can be the motive? This fiendishly complicated puzzle, Freddy, is one that only Inspector French can solve. Okay, so Freeman Crofts was a master of the intricately and ingeniously plotted detective novel, and the Hogs Back mystery shows him at the height of his powers. It's always nice to have people at the height of his powers. This new edition of a classic mystery is introduced by the crime fiction expert Martin Edwards. I think I remember that name too. Okay, yeah, so this author lived from 1879 to 1957. Very nice. Look at that, look at that. Anyway, so I was excited. This is an excellent shape. The only thing it has is a slight mark, which I usually don't like, but it's so not too bad. Actually, I like it better there than I would here. So, pretty excited about that. Right, Freddie? Okay, let's see. So, went to Half Price Books one of the days of our trip, the stormy, pouring weather day. And so, great time to spend a good amount of time in a bookshop. I hadn't been to a Half Price Books since my sister lived in Texas, in San Antonio. So I kind of missed it. I don't always like the feeling of how it's set up. It sort of feels a little bit industrial to me, but you can find some great stuff there and you can have a really good wander. And I think there's a bathroom, which I love. I love when bookshops have bathrooms because you just don't know. You just don't know. Thankfully, that wasn't a necessity for me at this point. But I found a few good ones. There was one here that I think I got all three of these at Half Price Books, and I'm looking forward to reading all of them. This one was a surprise because I have mentioned numerous times Christopher Fowler, and I'll mention him again. He's another one of my favorite writers, mystery writers as well, who died recently, about a year ago. And his series, The Bryant and May Peculiar Crimes Unit, is one of my favorite series. And I thought I had read all of them except the short story collections, which I just finished. And then there's one book I haven't read yet, and I thought, okay, that's it. But I found this book, and I don't remember the synopsis. It doesn't ring a bell. So I thought maybe I didn't read it, and I checked, to see if it's in my local library. It's not, so I didn't check it out in the library, unless it just isn't anymore in circulation. And there wasn't any in my collection. I checked my, online record of all the books that I own, and it wasn't in there. So there is a distinct possibility that I have not read this one. So if I read it and I find out, oh yeah, I did, it won't be a bad reread. I plan to reread all the books. But if it turns out to be totally new to me, then that is just such a bonus for me. It's just such a wonderful thing. And I have not seen any of his books in this format, this kind of mass market paperback type of format, but I like this one. It has a very London-y looking picture in the front. Some dude with a mask on in the front as well. See this? 10-second staircase. Does it take you 10 seconds to go up a staircase? Nowadays, sometimes it takes me a little longer. You don't want to see me walking up a staircase. It is not an attractive look. Walking down, not much better. Anyway, but that's okay, because I don't have to walk up and down staircases for your benefit. Okay, so it's a crime tailor-made for the PCU. I'm not going to say it again. A controversial artist is murdered and displayed as part of her own outrageous installation. Ugh. No suspects, no motive, no evidence. It's business as usual for Bryant and May. But this time they do have an eyewitness, a boy who claims the killer was a cape-clad highwayman atop a black stallion. Whoever the killer really is, he seems intent on killing off enough minor celebrities to become one himself. As highwayman fever grips London, Bryant and May, along with the newest member of the unit, May's agoraphobic granddaughter April, find themselves sorting out a case involving an unlikely combination of artistic rivalries, sleazy sex affairs, the Knights Templars, feuding street gangs, and a decades-old crime spree that split up their partnership once before, and threatens to end this time with murder. I do remember May's granddaughter at some point, so we'll see if this is something I read. I just think I'd remember the whole Highwayman storyline. I don't know. Anyway, but again, I'm looking forward to reading it. So I'm glad I found it. And then I found a very good in-shape Virago modern classic. And look at this. It has a little in the back. It looks like it's a Virago sticker as well. Ago. unless there's something called Trivago, Morago, UK 450, so might be. So that's E.H. Young, the Mrs. Mallet. She's just talking him and trying to talk to him while he's looking at what the menu. I don't know what's happening there. This is the cover shows Bank Holiday by William Strang, sorry. Reproduced by kind permission of the Tate Gallery London. I love the Tate Gallery London. It's one of my favorite museums in the universe. And because it has the Pre-Raphaelite art, a lot of it. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the story though. The author's name, E.H. Young, Emily Hilda Young. She was from Northumberland and she lives from 1880 to 1949. This book, The Mrs. Mallet, was published, sorry with my bad eyesight again, appeared in 1922. I like that time period for books. Shall I read this as well? Do you want me to read the back of every book? There are 4 Mrs. Mallet. First come Carolyn and Sophia, large and jolly spinsters with recollections of a past glamour which sustain them as the years slip by. Almost sounds like Grey Gardens without the mother. Then there is Rose, beautiful Rose with her knot of dark hair, pale complexion, and lovely gray eyes, so much younger than her stepsisters. She calmly awaits the event or the man that will take her away from their life of small social successes in the city of Radstow. But she is independent and fastidious. No man, not even the eligible Francis Sales, can entirely capture her heart. The 4th Miss Mallet is Henrietta, there's more, who arrives to share the conventional home of her 3 aunts. With her Aunt Rose's beauty and her own willful spirit, she determines against spinsterhood. Encountering Francis, no longer so eligible, she falls under his spell. Oh, as Rose and Henrietta circle around Francis, they are forced to decide between sense and sensibility, and each of them makes the perfect choice. So this says that this book is the most reminiscent of Jane Austen, which of course sold me, because I don't know if you realize this, but I love Jane Austen. So that's great. And also, my sister loves these books, loves D.E. Stevenson. I have not read anything by D.E. Stevenson, and she thinks that that is an absolute bookish sin or crime or just not a great thing. So this is the first one, Miss Spunkle's book, or I think the first one of this series or whatever it is, and sounds good. I look forward to reading this, and I want to get into D.E. Stevenson because what I really need in life is to get into more authors, don't I? But you know what? A lot of booktubers talk about D.E. Stevenson, and a lot of the booktubers that do are people that I quite like, so I think they can't all be wrong, and my sister has great taste in books. We didn't get to do a video together when we were in Chicago. We're going to have to rectify that at some point because she is lovely to talk to about books, as you probably know if you've watched my videos. So, you know. But yeah, that sounds like an interesting book to me. I didn't read the synopsis of that one because I'm getting tired. So last but not least, penultimately but not least, I went to Tangible Books, which is a great shop owned by the former owner of Myopic Books, which I don't like as much. Tangible Books is at a slightly more outside part of Chicago, not out of Chicago, but just a little farther from the really popular sections. I think the area is a little more gentrified than it used to be, but still, you know, they moved Tangible Books next door to them, and the space is really nice. There's a little sitting area that I sat in for a little while when I got tired to read, and they were giving away kittens when we walked in there. They adopted a cat recently and didn't know it was pregnant, and they were giving away kittens. There were 2 black kittens and an orange kitten, and I wanted to take all of them home to match with my Freddie and Janie, but I know better, so I did not. But we watched as at least one kitten was taken home, one of the black kittens, while we were there, so probably the rest went home as well. And found a great home. That's lovely. But I found a couple of good books to take home with me. And the first one is The Wanderer by Fanny Burney. Look at this. OMG. Doorstopper much? Now, I wasn't that into, when I read Evelina by Fanny Burney, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't that into it or her writing. But this one has the French Revolution time period, fleeing from France and all that. A little adventurous, and I just read the first maybe chapter, and I said, hey, I could like this book. So I figured, I don't know if I'm going to read this one during a Jane Austen July. It's a bit big, but I don't know. I will find time for it. It seems pretty great. So and I just wanted to read more of Fanny Burney. She was an interesting person to me, and she was an influence on Jane Austen. So anyway, and then I found this collection of Everyman's Pocket Classics. This does not fit in any of my pockets, but maybe if you were like a Time Lord and you have a bigger on the inside pocket, this is New York stories. I have London stories and one about trees and forests and something, leaves and flowers and something. So I figured it would be a fun thing to get New York stories while I'm about to go home, because it was like the day before I went home. So get me in the mood for New York. But and I have the London story, so I thought it was a good compliment. And look, I love it when I get a bookmark from a bookshop. Isn't that fantastic? Anyway, although kind of didn't need it with this, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And the price is really good there, by the way. If you are in Chicago, I do very much recommend. One of my favorite is Tangible Books, because the prices are really reasonable. Definitely last, but definitely not least, is a book I bought in a, regularly priced independent bookstore, but I like it anyway. This is the Bookseller, not to be confused with the New York Bookseller, which is used books, which I went to recently and had a coughing fit, so now I don't want to show my face there for a while. I had a coughing fit in this place too. I must be allergic to booksellers, but then I got a hot tea and I was better. Lately, that's what helps me. Sorry, I'm sure you really don't need to hear about my coughing fits, but there it is. This is, on a happy note, this is a British Library women writers book. So the British Library is just pumping out all kinds of books. My sister read this book, and she was very enthusiastic about it. And I did read a book by Elizabeth von Arnim this year, The Enchanted April. And even though I wasn't in love with it, I really did like it and knew that I wanted to read more by this writer. I already have Elizabeth and Her German Garden, so now I have Father. And it's very pink, which is not really my color, but it's a nice pink. It's enjoyable. And it says, since her mother's death, Jennifer has devoted years of her life to her father, managing the home and acting as his secretary. After the sudden announcement that he has remarried, Jennifer, at 33, seizes the opportunity to lead an independent life. With a humorous tone, this novel explores the familial and societal expectations placed on single women during the interwar years. I also find the interwar years fascinating, that whole time period. I think it's kind of funny that this book about remarrying, a father remarrying, and the book I have, which is not sadly in my reach, Wives and Daughters, similar thing. I have a pink, very similarly pink. Maybe that's just the theme. When your father remarries, you get to be in a pink book. Anyway, that really makes no sense. But I'm excited about British Library women writers, and so far the ones I've come across have been really good. And so, excellent. So anyway, that's my haul, and I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, if there's anyone that you think I should read first, or any ones which might be avoidable, etc. Let me know if you've had any really great purchases recently, or even a library book that you checked out that you're quite excited to get to. So that is all for now. I have rambled enough about my recent haul. This is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and bookville day. Bye.